Finding yourself in the talons of an owl and the shadows of the forest moonlight. It's a gruesome affair. I love to tell people about my dreams. That is when I can remember them. Last winter, when I started having dreams of a clown, Slappy, I kept my mouth shut about it, at least for a while. I thought people would think that I'm crazy. Actually, I thought I was going a bit crazy myself. I'm not even sure anymore, but these words have to be written. I just wish that Slappy stayed only in my dreams. It's summer 2018 now, and my whole world has been flipped upside down and inside out in the past 6 months. The first time I saw Slappy was back in January of this year, 2018. It was a dream, but it felt too real. Usually I forget my dreams if I don't write them down immediately when I wake up. In this case, I didn't write anything down, but remember the dream as clear as if it just happened. I was walking in a forest, in a panic, struggling to get back to a safe place. It was dark and visibility was low. Strangely, in addition to the natural scent of the forest, there was a scent of cotton candy. I thought this was very peculiar. I could just see enough to see beyond the trees and off into the distance. Far away was a clown walking toward me. I felt immediately threatened by this clown, even though it walked at an actually slow pace. The clown was menacing. I didn't want to look at it, but I did look at it. I saw it there. The clown had green, frizzy hair, blue makeup forming sharp angles around its eyes, and red makeup forming an evil smile around its mouth. It had a red foam ball for a nose. It had tight, striped sleeves, and its outfit was actually reminiscent of most common clowns. But its hands had an animalistic shape. They were large, and the skin seemed coarse, and the nails were dark and long and thick. The hands were dirty, disgusting actually, as though they had just been used to kill a wild boar or something else. The hands did seem damp. Maybe it was blood, but I had the uncanny feeling that this clown was not one anyone would want their kids around, or be around themselves. And it walked towards me, with a piercing gaze of eye contact that did not give up. At one point, the clown did the strangest thing. It slapped itself in the face with one of its horrible animalistic hands. Then it slapped itself again several times quickly on its own face. This is where the dream gets weird. If I moved so that I could no longer see the clown, as blocked by a tree, then another place in view, a different location, would become illuminated and the clown would now be there and would start walking towards me again. And once again, moving to block the view behind another tree, and now a third version of the same clown would be walking from a completely different place. This would be impossible in real life, but this was a dream. It felt almost something like a video game, but it felt real. Sometimes when I blocked the view of the clown, the new version would actually be closer than the blocked one. So I started to move and panic. I didn't know the clown's name at the time, but it's Slappy. I found out later because he told me. So when I moved and the new clown was far away, I would actually wait there for a few seconds just to catch my breath before moving again. It was panicking and it didn't give up, and it was like the clown had a stage light above me and was always walking towards me. I was sure that if Slappy reached me, he would hurt me and maybe kill me. I woke up out of that dream and was relieved to escape the stressing reality of an inescapable Slappy clown. I wish I could say that this dream was an isolated event, but I started having this dream repeatedly. In another version, the setting was the city, but the scenario the same. Slappy could reappear in another totally different place, so the environment was different, but the game the same. I had this dream on different nights in a shopping mall, a supermarket, a parking garage, which was bad, but it was never as bad as at the carnival. The worst part about this is that it started to affect my health. At school, I had a couple people ask me if I was okay and that I had been quiet lately. Quiet. I was exhausted. The night, which is reserved mostly for rest and replenishing energy, had become a period of maximum stress. Many nights I read Twitter, Reddit, and watched YouTube videos just to avoid going to sleep. So, back in March, I get home from school and I find a freaking dead bird on my bed. It had blood on it. It wasn't a big bird, a smaller gray and white one, but it was a bird, dead on my bed, just near the pillow. What does one do when they find a dead bird on their bed? I thought the best was to throw it out. I didn't want to touch it, so I went in the kitchen and got some old chopsticks that had come with takeout but were never used. I also got a plastic bag, so I picked up the bird with the chopsticks like I was eating a California roll, and as I was dropping it in the plastic bag, I noticed a few strands of frizzy green hair. At that moment, I just felt sick. I could almost vomit, but couldn't. It was just an awful feeling. I threw the bird out and started to think how to get rid of this clown from my life. Who does one call in such times? The police? A priest? Clown busters? The local carnival? One thing I can say is that I actually got a good night's sleep that night, but the good times were not to last. I have a girlfriend that lives a few towns over. Although I can take the train to get there, my preferred method is to ride my racer bicycle. There's a bike path which runs through a park, and it's mostly a very safe ride on a paved path through a wooded area. I have a very powerful white double LED light on the front of my bike that actually lights up the path, much like headlights on a car. So being March, it still gets pretty dark pretty early. I had been at the lab chemistry class that night pretty late and was biking on the racer to my girlfriend's place. It was nighttime in this forest, and like in that first dream, in addition to the scent of the forest, I smelled the sugary sweet aroma of cotton candy. This made me nervous. The vertical tree trunks scrolled horizontally at me as I pedaled down the path. It reminded me, dreadfully reminded me, even more of that first horrible dream with Slappy. Actually, reminded me is putting it too lightly. I was completely freaking out. I was really losing my shit and started to really pedal hard. And then, sure enough, it happened. A clown was coming down the bike path from the opposite direction, and just like the dream, my bright LED bike light illuminated him almost like a stage light would. I felt this pressing feeling coming from inside my head as the clown pedaled down the path. He looked right at me, and although I hated looking, I did look, and he looked back, and it was just some kind of WTF moment. It was like an insane deja vu where things are happening almost in super vivid slow motion. I was thinking, you're supposed to only be in dreams. But then I was thinking, maybe I am dreaming. As we passed, I felt a sharp pain on my lower left arm side, and then Slappy let out a sickening but calm laugh as he pedaled down the path in the direction I had come from. I turned my head and watched what I could barely see in the darkness. A ridiculous clown on a bike disappearing down the path. I refocused my attention on my arm, which had been slashed by something sharp and was bleeding quickly. I had been slashed. The cut was not too deep, but the bleeding was coming heavily. In a few minutes, I arrived at my girlfriend's place and we inspected the wound. It wasn't that bad, so we bandaged it up and left it at that. My mind was totally messed up. This clown was not only in the dream world, it was also now in the really real world. Now I can't even avoid it when I'm awake. That night, the clown told me his name. It's Slappy. It was in a dream. I was staying over at my girlfriend's that night with a bandage on my left arm. The dream starts like this. I was floating in space, like that example from Einstein's theory of relativity where two astronauts are just floating in space and they don't know if they are moving up or if the other one is moving down. It's all relative. In this dream, it seems like we were both floating up, but Slappy a tad faster than I. So we were both moving up and Slappy towards me. This time, he was just slapping himself a few times soft and then a few times violently. And he was staring at me and he repeated several times, "Slappy like slap. Slappy like to slap." I can't tell you how strange it is to see a clown in full clown gear, the works, green hair, white makeup, the red nose, slapping his own face with a huge, disgusting hand while floating in space. I woke up from that dream and felt the bandage on my arm. I was terrified. That was last night. It's really hot tonight. There's a heat wave here. It's summer 2018. I don't have an air conditioner, so have most of the windows open. The pull-down blinds have wooden bottoms to keep them flat. The wind makes them bang against the windowsills like banging sounds you would hear in a boatyard on a windy night. I like this. It keeps me awake. I don't want to see Slappy tonight. Smoking Owl here. Please rip at the like button or scratch a comment. This story was inspired by a collaboration I recently did with the horrible and terrifying YouTuber, The Feeling of Being Watched. That's his channel, The Feeling of Being Watched. We collaborated on a 6 clown story thriller. It's called 6 Creepy Clown Stories, and I have provided a link for it in the description. Be sure to check in again soon to get your share of the latest kill. And as it is my goal to get 100 subscribers, if you subscribe to my channel, I promise you an owl somewhere will give a horrible hoot.